Now, the rest of the story.
What you think, Calvin? Calvin's all out of breath. He was just chasing deer. So I'm down here checking to see what this grass and everything is doing. It's been a while since we've been down here. The last time, or the last hay making videos we made were down here, and if you guys want an idea of how much or how long it's been since we've been able to do anything, I mean quite literally anything, because it was dry enough to make hay or anything else like that. We have hay that we could be making. It wouldn't take very much to get to it, but a lot of the material through here is already 4 to 6 inches tall, depending on where you're at. The lighter stuff is actually down in that valley more, and actually you can see it almost looks like the fertilizer gave out up through there, because you can see it's definitely darker greener back that way. But this is the bottom that was flooded a while back here. Calvin! I don't need him getting in the mud and then getting back in my truck. This had about 4 feet of water on it last week, I do believe. There is some slight, Calvin, come on up, let's go. There is some ponding on it yet. I can see there's a bit there, a bit there. It looks nice. I mean, this is all soft ground, just for the amount of rain we've had this year. All this ground that has not been made was literally just too soft to even pull the disc bind through. I did have a spot just over the hill here where the back tire, or the right tire on the disc bind, came around with water on it. So that's kind of how I knew how far out I could go on my outside rounds. So I'm really glad we went through and got it baled and hauled off the field, because I believe it flooded like the next day, if memory serves me right. And the material that we have gotten cut looks really nice. The material that we don't have cut, believe it or not, doesn't look that bad. I'm not about to start walking down there, just because it's actually a pretty long trek from where I parked my truck to the field that hasn't been made yet. It looks like it's drying out. The chances of being able to make it here in the next 3 weeks, none. Honestly, I think it's my blunt opinion, for me to be able to make the last third of this piece, is it's almost going to have to freeze. I'm talking get down in the 30s, 20s, and wait for the ground to firm up, see if any of the ponds or the standing water that's down there is able to dry up, drain off. I got to be able to take the four-wheeler across it without getting stuck, or without even picking up water or mud, long before I'll risk taking the tractor down there. The 76 really does have some good meat hooks on it now. It's got 4 new enough tires on it that it's fine. I know last time I cut this stuff, all 4 tires were pretty well bald, and I never got stuck with the 76. Got stuck with the 46, but really that's just because I quit moving. Because I actually quit moving and then I sank. But I want to get a acid applicator put on the round baler, not just to make this stuff down here, because there's a lot of nice material down here that I'd like to get made and actually be reassured at the end of the day that it isn't going to rot on me. And with the weather we have, the big push for putting an applicator on a baler, small square, big square, round balers, is you put an applicator on with the intention of, like I've already said, going through and trying to make it as dry hay. So not changing anything that we're doing up until the day we bale. So I'm saying cut it, windrow it ideally, let it sit for 24 hours, 16 hours. Go out the next day, ted it out, because then by then the ground between the windrows is able to dry out, so you don't have wet, damp, mucky soil that you're trying to spread all that hay on and make dry hay doing that. And then let it lay. Hopefully the sun is shining, the heat works on it. Dry it out for as long as you can, as long as you dare. I couldn't tell you the last time that I've actually made hay where I went through and baled it and we had 2 or 3 days of sunshine after the day I baled it. Usually we're under the gun and we're baling it hours before it rains, much like what happened down here. Then the point is, up until the day you bale it, that's the only thing that really changes when you have an applicator, because then you go through, I do have a moisture monitor I got to put on the baler. That'll probably be a video in itself, because it is going to be able to be nice to know what the moisture is going into these bales. For the size bales and for how tight of the bale that I'm making, the preferred moisture level of the material, the grass, the hay, whatever you want to call it, depending on where you're at in the world, because I've had everybody tell me something different what I should be saying. But 13 to 17% moisture is the ideal dry, or the ideal moisture that material should be before it goes into a bale. If it's anything above that, they recommend that you put that I literally just had it, that acid. It's the buffered acid. So it's not actual acid, even though they say, oh, you're putting acid on. I've been doing enough research here in the last 2 or 3 weeks that I'm feeling really confident that acid isn't going to hurt our baler. That was my biggest concern, is what's the point of going through and being able to make better bales, like high quality dry material, and then have the baler get eaten up where we have to replace the baler in X amount of years. As long as you're watching what you're putting on, the pH of that stuff is neutral. So it's not non-acidic. It's just practically like rainwater, is what I keep getting told. And I've been looking around and pricing the stuff out. I do have a system that I'm already looking at. I'm really interested in actually getting. That'll probably be my splurge. And the reason I haven't went and gotten it yet this fall, I could, is I'm not entirely certain that I can make the last third of this place. If I knew that I could, I would really be looking into it. I probably would. I'd probably go and get the setup and try to do the last third of this place, and the stuff that we actually have up on the hill baled with putting that preservative on it. But on the other hand, if it gets late enough in the fall where we're talking freezing temps, I'm just shooting from the hip here, because I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'd rather be focusing on row crop harvest right now than worrying about trying to get hay made. But the way the weather's going, what I'm concerned about is that it's going to be like November before we get a chance to make this stuff, and then at that point you're not drying it, you're freezing it, which is fine if you're going to feed the stuff out right away before spring. And if that was the case, that would just be the stuff that, well, it's the last stuff that gets stacked, so it's going to be the first stuff you're going to reach for anyway with the skid steer and feed out right away. But it all comes down to weather, and it changes daily. I know I say or reference the weather too much, but welcome to farming. Your whole livelihood is dependent on what Mother Nature feels like doing, feels like throwing at you. But they're putting more rain into the weather forecast after they pulled out all but 4 days of rain. So now they added another day of rain, so we got 5 days of rain ahead of us starting tomorrow, a day of sunshine, and then 2 more days of rain. So we're getting to the point where we need to be more or less focused on getting the corn and beans out of the field and less concerned about making feed. We have, at this point, we have enough feed to get us through the winter. We do. I mean, I'm not worried about it. I mean, it's basically to the point where if I can make it, I'm going to. That's just the long and the short of it. But running yourself thin trying to get this made when you're not sure if it's worth it or if the ground conditions are going to clear up enough that you can. So it is really pretty down here. I know it's getting late and my camera's low on power, but